Hari Om. This video is about Pandavas coming out of their hiding mode and their return to Hastinapur. To quickly recap, in the last video, we covered the story of Draupadi Swayamvar. We saw how many kings failed to string the bow and hit the target, how Karna was disqualified by Draupadi, and finally, Draupadi's marriage with all five Pandavas. We saw two meanings behind Draupadi getting married to five Pandavas. One was because of Draupadi's deep penance in the past life to Lord Shiva, and the boon she got was to marry five husbands. And two was comparison of Draupadi with the Kundalini Shakti and her role to power all the five chakras in human body. There is one more mystical meaning of Draupadi's marriage with five Pandavas. Draupadi represents the intellect, which is married to the soul together with the four purusharths or purposes of life. As we do more meditation and discipline ourselves, we begin to develop the support of the intellect within us. Assisted by that intellect, we can pursue ethical values, dharma, material values, artha, vital values, kama, and strive for spiritual values of life, moksha. As we will see in the future videos, that just as Draupadi eventually becomes one of the main causes of the great Mahabharata war, so too our intellect becomes the cause of the great battle known as sadhana, which is a program of spiritual discipline in which one plans to destroy all the negative impressions of the mind with the help of the divine self like Sri Krishna in Mahabharata. Moving on with this Mahabharata story, now the Pandavas have built a very powerful alliance with the kingdom of Panchal by marrying with Draupadi and have full support of Sri Krishna and their entire Yadavas. They were now ready to reveal to everyone that they were alive. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan were shocked to hear this news that Pandavas were alive. Bhishma, Drona, and Vidur called upon Dhritarashtra, counseled him to counteract the wrongdoings by his son. The gist of their advice was, fortunately, the Pandavas and their mother Kunti have not perished in the fire of the wax mansion. If they had been burned down to death, the blame would have fallen on you and not on the wicked Purochan. Accordingly, call the Pandavas back and treat them as your own. The Pandavas are more entitled to inherit the ancient Kuru kingdom than the Kauravas are. In the worst case, divide the kingdom into two halves and persuade the cousins to live in peace, harmony, and happiness. Dhritarashtra was influenced by this idea of dividing the kingdom, and they jointly sent an envoy headed by Vidur to Panchal to invite the Pandavas back. People of Hastinapur were glad that their beloved princes were alive and were coming back. After entering the kingdom, the Pandavas prostrated before Bhishma and Dhritarashtra and were received cordially. The coronation ceremony of Yudhishthir was celebrated on an auspicious day. Dhritarashtra then advises his nephew to go to Khandavprastha, which was the ruined capital of their ancestors, and renovate it as their new capital. The prince agreed to it in order to avoid future clash between the Pandavas and Kauravas. The partition was at a disadvantage to the Pandavas, but Krishna approved of it. So did Yudhishthir. To build anything in the wild forest, its wild creatures had to be cleared. The Lord of Fire, Agnidev, was invoked to burn down the forest and clear the forest of all its inhabitants. Agnidev needed help against Lord Indra, who would pour rain to protect Takshaka snake who lived in that forest. Agnidev gives Arjuna the Gandiva by invoking Varun Dev, Lord of Ocean, and also gives them a chariot with divine horses which carried an emblem of a monkey on it. Arjuna was able to ward off the rain by making an umbrella with arrows. Mayasur, who was also indwelling in the forest, asks to be pardoned, and in return he offers to build a magnificent hall in the new capital. Everything was destroyed by fire except Takshaka, his son, Mayasur, and four birds. The significance of this we'll cover in the future videos. At this point, a new parva or a chapter starts of Mahabharata. It's the second chapter of Mahabharata story and it's called Sabha Parva. Once Khandavprastha forest was cleared by fire, Krishna invited Indra to build a city in Khandavprastha. Indra sends Vishwakarma to build the city. Vishwakarma is the architect of the heavens. In no time, Vishwakarma makes a magnificent city and it was named Indraprastha after Indra. After that, Mayasur makes a magical sabha or a hall in the palace of Indraprastha. The palace was now ready for Pandavas to occupy. All the five Pandavas loved Draupadi equally. This was a recipe for a disaster, for it was a question of time before they experienced jealousy and possessiveness. Sage Narada visits them on their day one in the palace and shares with them the story of Tilottama, an Apsara who was sent by the Devas to create discord and eventually destroy the two Asura brothers Sunda and Upasunda. No sooner did the two brothers see her that they both desired hand in marriage for her. I will marry the one who is stronger of you, said Tilottama smilingly. The brothers decided to fight for her, and since both were equally matched, they ended up killing each other in the fight. If you don't want to end up killing each other, as Sunda and Upasunda did, you must agree to allow Draupadi to be exclusive to one brother for a year at a time. Once the year is over, you must let her go to your other brothers and return to her only 4 years later. The brothers who entered Draupadi's chamber out of turn will go into an exile into the forest for a year. The Pandavas agreed and vowed to obey this. One day, the cows of Pandavas were being herded away by the thieves. The cowherd sought the help of Arjuna, who rushed to the palace to collect his Gandiva. He looked everywhere and couldn't find it, so he goes in search of it in a hurry in Draupadi's chamber. When he entered, Draupadi was with Yudhishthir. Since Arjuna entered out of turn, Arjuna had to go in exile in the forest for a year as a punishment. He decided to go on a pilgrimage. While in exile, Arjuna visited various holy places all over Bharata and took a dip in river Ganga, Saraswati, Godavari, Kaveri, and in the end goes to Dwarka where he meets Subhadra. Subhadra was the sister of Sri Krishna. Subhadra was in love with Arjuna from all the stories that she had heard about Arjuna from Sri Krishna. And thus, when she meets Arjuna, she decides to run away with Arjuna. They get married and have a son named Abhimanyu. Sri Krishna very well knew that his sister loved Arjuna dearly and thus does not stop them while they were running away. Sri Krishna has a strong liking towards Abhimanyu. He also trains Abhimanyu with use of various weapons and trains him very well. At Indraprastha, Narada advises Yudhishthir to perform Rajasuya Yagna, and by doing that Yagna, Yudhishthir would declare himself to be the undisputed emperor. Yudhishthir asks Sri Krishna for his advice on performing Rajasuya Yagna. Sri Krishna approves of the idea but thinks that King Jarasandha would not approve Yudhishthir to be the undisputed emperor and thus they need to fight with Jarasandha and take care of him. Bhima disguises as a Brahmin and goes to the kingdom of Magad. Jarasandha used to fight regularly in a friendly fight in his kingdom with whoever would challenge him. It was his way to stay fit and strong. Bhima challenges Jarasandha for a fight and Bhima was able to kill Jarasandha in that fight. At Indraprastha, the Rajasuyagna now takes place at Indraprastha. Various kings from all the neighboring kingdoms were invited. Duryodhana and Shakuni also visit the Rajasuyagna along with Shishupal and others to witness the Rajasuyagna. Duryodhana was in awe to see how prosperous Indraprastha had become. He was also super jealous about the magical assembly that Mayasur had built. During the Rajasuya Yagna, Sri Krishna was made the chief guest by Yudhishthir. Shishupal made lots of insulting comments on Sri Krishna. After 100 insults, Sri Krishna kills Shishupal during the Rajasuya Yagna. Duryodhan, in the meanwhile, was walking into the assembly hall where he mistakes a pond water for a hard surface and falls into the pond of water. This was because of illusion created by Mayasur using his magical powers. Seeing Duryodhan fall into the pond, Draupadi could not control her laughter at the mishap. Duryodhan felt insulted and got furious and cultivated a deep desire for revenge against Draupadi's insults. He leaves the Rajasuya Yagna immediately and goes back to Hastinapur along with Shakuni. On their way back to Hastinapur, Duryodhan expressed to Shakuni and Karna his unbearable jealousy of the Pandavas' prosperity, but Shakuni exhorts him to reconcile himself with their self-earned empire and enormous wealth. Duryodhan made it clear that he would rather die than tolerate the opulence of his much-hated cousins. Shakuni said conquest is out of question. Gambling is the only way. Yudhishthir has a liking for the game of dice while he is thoroughly inexperienced in the art. I am an expert dice player. Let us cheat him in gambling and win away his empire and everything. Let's see if there are some insights from this story. One may wonder why were Pandavas given Khandavprastha, underdeveloped part of the kingdom, whereas Kauravas get to keep the developed part of the kingdom. The fact that Kauravas retained the prosperous portion of their homeland and the Pandavas received the barren half is not a pathetic situation at all. It is symbolic of the mystic fact that Pandavas were well suited to evolve through the internalized realm of the mind, which is a hard thing to do, while the Kauravas were only suited to operate to the realm of the senses and externalized mind, which is easy. Like the Pandavas, when a spiritual aspirant becomes to explore more of the realm of the mind through concentration and meditation, he may feel as if he is treading upon a barren land, like the Khandavprastha. He realizes that a lot of work has to be done in order to make that internal realm into an Indraprastha. However, with right self effort and the grace of Krishna, that realm of mind becomes radiant for all that is best in human personality. Also, one other insight is from thinking about what is the significance of burning down Khandavprastha forest. The fire god symbolizes the fire of aspiration in every individual. That fire becomes dull if you are involved in sakam karma or actions performed with the desire for fruits of action. Doing more and more sakam karma leads to the buildup of ashubh vasanas in us, or the impressions of anger, greed, hatred, jealousy, etc. Our unconscious becomes like a terrible forest, like the Kamyaka forest. We can strengthen our aspirations for self realization by practicing sadhana, which is a spiritual discipline, and purify our heart to allow divine force of vairagya, dispassion, to enter our unconscious, and with the help of Sri Krishna and Arjuna, we can clean up the whole jungle within us. Burning down the Kamyaka forest symbolizes the spiritual overhauling of the unconscious mind, similar to Hanuman setting Lanka on fire in Ramayana. Indra showering rain is comparable to the cloud of desires that surge in us. Arjuna is the spirit, the soul, and Krishna is the divine self. When our soul becomes friends with the divine self, our real fire of true aspirations can thrive. Think. In the next video, we will continue to see what happens after Duryodhan approves of this evil trick of playing a dice game to win over everything that Pandavas had. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe to my channel for future videos. If you have a question or an alternate view to share or a comment, please add them to the comments section below. Thank you. Hari Om.